Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be sharing 10 things I learned in my first year of business and a simple step-by-step guide to help you get started with your own business too. I've previously shared a video all about how we launched our brand Maryam's Market, but if you're new around here, I'm Maryam. My husband and I created this brand to bring Islam into the homes of Muslim children. Our own kids inspire everything we make, and we believe kids learn best through play, so we design products that make Islam fun for children. So it's been a year. I've learned a lot. We started with just these 4 products, and since then we've launched another plushie, plus many versions of both of our plushies, a new print collection, and a Ramadan colouring book. We've also grown from 0 to over 18,000 followers on TikTok and 5,000 followers on Instagram. We've had multiple viral posts, and we've even sold out more than once. We moved from packing orders in my mum's house and storing stock there to working with a fulfillment company. We've upgraded our packaging, and we hit over 52,000 website visits this year. So yeah, a lot has happened. So without further ado, let's dive into the top 10 lessons I've learned in my first year of business. I hope it helps. First of all, if I waited until I knew everything about business before starting, Maryam's Market wouldn't exist. A big lesson I've learned this year is that you don't need to know a lot to get started, just the basics. My husband and I learned so much along the way just by doing it. Looking back to a year ago, I barely knew anything about business. I still don't know a lot, and I'm learning every single day. There is so much that goes into it and so much to learn, but thinking about everything all at once can really hold you back from even starting. So let's break down the real basics of starting a business, and we are stripping it way back so that you can just think about what is really important just to get you started. Firstly, you need a product and you need to figure out who it's for. You don't need an entire collection of products, just start with one and get it right. And figure out who is going to buy it. How old are they? What are their values? Does it solve a problem, or is it just for fun? Next, create one simple prototype. At this stage, don't aim for it to be perfect, just create the simplest version of your product using what you have, or get a small sample from a supplier, and one basic version is enough to test the idea and get feedback before investing time and money. Next, understand your costs. Everything might cost more than you think it's going to, and you need to figure out how much is it going to cost you to make, package, ship, and sell the product. Will you make a profit, and will this be worth investing your time and energy into in the long run? Next, find one reliable manufacturer. It might take time to find the right one. Start with one supplier, order some samples, test the quality, and keep going until you're happy with what has been made. Or perhaps you're making the product yourself, which makes it even more special and more valuable. But if that's the case, then you need to figure out where you're going to get your supplies. Next, choose one sales channel. You need to find a place to sell it. Pick one and learn it well. Mine was Etsy to begin with when I first started selling prints way before Maryam's Market, and now it's Shopify now that I have my own website and brand. You can always change your sales channel after, so just pick any to begin with and figure it out. Figure out simple, basic packaging and shipping. Keep it very minimal and affordable at the start. You can always upgrade later. Ours was super basic to begin with, but since then, we've improved our thank you cards and invested in custom bags too. And when it comes to shipping, start by researching a few local couriers, compare prices and delivery times, and choose the simplest option that reliably gets your product to the customers. You can always refine it later on. Lastly, start creating content. Share what you're making and why. People don't just buy products, they buy the stories, the values, and the person behind them. So don't be afraid to show the reality. Now that we've covered the basics, let's get back to my top 10 lessons. Something I learned this year, and this is particularly relevant if you are just starting out, and that is love what you do. You need to find something that you are really passionate about. Not only will it keep you going, but the passion will show in everything that you make and everything that you share. One thing I really want to emphasize, especially to any other mums like me watching, is that if you don't really love what you're building, you're going to burn out so fast. There were so many late nights after my kids were asleep when all I wanted to do was lie on the sofa and do nothing, and that certainly does happen a lot of the nights, but the only reason I didn't quit was because I'm so passionate about what I'm creating. I care so much about making products that celebrate our deen, our children, our families, and that passion is what carried me through the hard days over the last year. As parents, we already have a lot on our plates, so if we're going to build a business in the middle of all the chaos, it's got to be something that you really love. And that applies whether you're a parent or not, because once the excitement fades of the initial launch and the challenges hit, it's really difficult to keep going if you're not passionate about what you are building. Another thing I learned is that it's okay to start small. We all got to start somewhere. When I first started Maryam's Market, we had very few products and everything was done by me and my husband, and my family helped us with shipping orders. Stock was literally stored at my mum's house and we made do with what we had. There was no big warehouse, no big budget, no investments, no proper team. It was very much a family effort. But honestly, that season taught me so much and a lot has changed since then. We now work with a fulfillment centre and all our stock is stored at a warehouse. But those early days shaped the brand more than I realised at the time, and it showed me that you don't need to have everything figured out to begin. You don't need a lot to get started. So if you're just starting out, just use what you have. And share your story along the way as you build your brand from the ground up. People love to watch the entire journey from beginning to possibly selling out. Another thing I learned is that it might take a lot longer and cost more money than you think. Even with the best planning, our real costs and timelines revealed themselves a little later. Of course, we started with a budget and a launch date, but then you need extra samples and unexpected delays pop up with the manufacturer. There are so many things that just took a lot longer than I thought, but I've started to realise over the last year that this is very normal. And these extra investments in time and money aren't failures, they're just part of turning this little idea into a real brand. And then over time, we get better at budgeting, prioritising, and knowing what's worth spending money on. Social media can really be a game changer. A few viral posts, literally just a couple of TikToks that connected with the right people, grew our business massively. We now also pay to run ads, but long before we did that, we were getting so many sales and even selling out just from social media. And the best part was that it was free. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok gave us visibility without traditional marketing. But those viral moments definitely weren't just through luck. They happened because we were consistently showing up online and creating and researching what really works on social media. And that pays off eventually. Another massive lesson for me was that failures are feedback. And I use the word failure loosely because things will go wrong, it's inevitable, but it's not always a loss. Our first year was full of things that didn't go the way I hoped. We had late shipments, wrong samples, low sales weeks, ideas that completely flopped, and lessons that cost us a lot of time and money. And it can feel a bit personal, but each setback is actually information. So what do customers want? What do they not want? What's worth your time? What system is not working? And what should your next move be? All of these things going wrong can actually help us refine the business, and every mistake guided us towards something that was better. So it could be a smoother system, a better strategy, or a better product. Mistakes are just part of the journey. As I mentioned, your packaging doesn't need to be perfect to begin with. Ours was just functional at the start, but over time, as the brand grew, we were able to go back and make things better. So we redesigned our packaging, we added thank you cards, improved our branding, and focused on making the whole unboxing experience a bit more special. I illustrated our products on a little market stall and updated our thank you cards, adding a textured paper feel, scribbly handwriting, and a stamp detail, so it genuinely looks like a handwritten note. It's much more playful and full of personality. So a good tip is to not overlook the little touches. You don't need them all at the start, but when you can add them over time, they make a big difference. Another thing I learned is that at the beginning you might have to wear all the hats, but it can't be that way all the time. So at the start you could be the designer, the product maker, admin, accounting, marketing, packing orders. It could all be your job. And that was just about doable for me and my husband at the start, but once we started to grow, we knew we needed help. When things got heavy, stock, storage, orders, shipping, it just became too much for my husband and I and our family. So we decided to use a fulfillment company, and that has saved the day. Now we have somewhere to store all of our stock, somewhere that's not my mum's house. Orders go out faster, smoother, and with less stress, which means I get to focus on a job that only I can do, which is focus on the more creative aspects of the business, such as designing our products. A very big lesson for me was that shipping worldwide is exciting, but it comes with real challenges. When Ramadan arrived, our orders were coming in very fast, especially from Europe. It was exciting but overwhelming, and suddenly customers were hit with surprise custom fees, shipping delays, and hidden charges we didn't even know existed. We even paused European shipping for a while because it just became too complicated to manage. And then the US market started growing, which was amazing, but right in the middle of that, new tariff rules hit, and some customers received unexpected custom fees at their door, which caused confusion and worry. We really had to rethink how we priced, how we shipped, and how we explained all these extra costs. Sometimes we even covered the fees ourselves just to protect the customer experience. Since then, we figured it out and have lots of happy customers in Europe and USA, but it was a real learning curve to get to this point. So a tip for you is to have a plan for customs, duties, and surprise fees if you plan to scale internationally. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is that I learned that running a business is never fixed. Taxes change, shipping regulations change, demand changes, costs rise. There will always be things out of our control. But if we're rigid, we will definitely break under the pressure. So my advice is that stay flexible and you will find ways to adjust, problem solve, and keep going. And if there's one thing I'll leave you with, it's this: you don't need to have it figured out at the start. You just need to be willing to learn as you go. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting Maryam's Market over the last year. Every single like, share, message, and order has meant more than you could ever know. I'm so grateful to be building this with such a kind community. See you next time. Bye.